Welcome to Miss Win Checking In, the space where creativity meets healing. Here, we explore the path of mindful expression through the lens of writing, wellness, and soulful storytelling. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how are you feeling right now? If you're watching this on YouTube, drop an emoji in the comments to represent how you're feeling. And then let's check in at the end. Let's take a deep breath, tune in, and prepare to create from within. Hey, it's Miss Win checking in, and today I am back with another meaningful episode. I have special guest Naishah. Naishah, what do you know about writing about mental health challenges?
So I'm Naishah. It's nice to meet you. I am an author. I write about my own mental health challenges. I write as a form of self-care, and I use my writing to help others get through their healing journey.
Yeah, nice. And so, how did you actually start writing about mental health? Was it just something you started journaling, or what motivated you to do so?
The decline of my mental health.
Okay.
Was severe depression, and journaling became an outlet. I learned I needed some form of release, and I'm very, private, and was my release. Writing just became everything to me. And I started writing about what I was struggling with, and I realized that it could possibly be, an outlet for more people, and
Mhm.
reading my work and, reading the things that I was learning in the process and on the journey could help other folks.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you share your writing anywhere? Do you have a blog? You said you're an author. Tell us more about that.
So published my first book on Amazon. It is in ebook as well as paperback form. It is called Healing Hurts Like Hell. Uh,
Oh.
it is a call out, heal out loud memoir.
Hmm.
I have shared it. I am a family peer advocate, so I use it to work with my families. I use it to let them know that they're not alone in their struggles with the mental health. I let them know that they're not alone in their struggles with their trauma, you know.
Hmm. How do you deal with that? Because this was not like on the script, but as someone who used to be an advocate, a victim of domestic violence and sexual assault advocate, how do you deal like with your own mental health as well as help others with theirs? Like, how do you balance that?
Well, I'm huge on a work-life balance. I'm
Okay.
also huge on, although I do have a family, I am a person. I was a person before I became a mother, and I have the divine right to take care of myself. So I
Mhm.
don't allow other people's traumas and triggers to re traumatize me, as well as I focus deeply and heavily on my own self care.
That's good. That's good because I think sometimes those boundaries, if you don't have any of those boundaries, it can be difficult
It can
to.
consume you. The
Mhm.
work can consume you. It gets hard because you're seeing other people go through the same traumas that you have, and it can possibly be a trigger, you know.
Mhm.
So it's hard to do the work, and especially if you don't have some form of self care.
Yeah. 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 That's important. I would also say, kind of leading by example, what would be your principle then? That's mine for me is like, let me lead by example. Let me go and take time to take care of myself before I take care of other people. What would be more so your principle when it comes to, I guess, like helping people to heal? Because it sounds like, and I could be making assumptions, but it sounds like that's something that you do well.
Well, I'm a service person,
Okay.
so in service of people, that's what gets me through. That's what I like to serve, help people. I like to, I've always been about me, and so now it's more of let's help other people. I've always liked to help people, but I've always been a selfish person. So
Hmm.
now it's more other folks. Let's get other folks. I focused enough on myself. It's time to help other people.
Okay. Nice. And so how do you make sure that when you're talking about, or even in your book, how did you make sure that when you were talking about mental health challenges, that you were accurate but also sensitive to those experiencing them?
So I used my own personal lived experience in my book. I don't have a degree. I didn't go to school to learn anything, so I can't speak of,
Mm-hmm.
but I can speak of what I've learned throughout my own lifetime in books as well as through my own life experience.
Mm. And what has been the feedback from readers or those who have come across your books?
Um, they're proud of my resilience.
Mm.
They are proud that, there's curses being broken, healing out loud, that I'm calling out people by name. I
Mm.
get a lot of, it's a breath of fresh air to see, our abusers are being called out, they're being spoken on and we're no longer hiding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why was it important for you to do that?
Well, because for so many years, people just suffer in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tearing our communities apart. We're hiding from people. We're hiding people for, and ruining our future children's lives. And it's time to stop that. We're calling out
Mm-hmm.
everybody and we're healing out loud. We suffer in silence. No more.
Yeah. 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 So would that be something that you would recommend? Would you recommend that? How did you? Yeah. Okay. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
I recommend calling people out when they mistreat you, calling people out in the moment, because backpacking is a real thing. You hold those things and you hold those things and you hold those things, and it becomes heavy for you. You know,
Yeah.
you end up exploding and then you end up being the villain. You know what I'm saying? Do it right then and there. Where it happens, speak out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they don't feel like it's abusive or it's traumatic to you. If it is, speak out, open your mouth, do not be afraid. Let's speak,
Yeah.
because nobody's suffering but you. And when you're suffering silently, let's speak up for yourself, speak up for other people, speak up for them
Yeah.
and will not speak up for themselves because they are too afraid to. I was that girl who was too afraid to speak up because when I spoke up, nobody listened the first time. So I spent
Mm.
years never defending myself, never sticking up for myself, and it became exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Yeah.
having to fight constantly for that level of, you know what I'm saying, respect in my circles. Like, so now I just speak up. If you do something, you're gonna hear about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is something that I've heard other women say, oh, well, I don't want to be the bad guy, so I just, I'm gonna take the higher road, but you can only take the higher road so many times before the higher road starts to diminish your own self, your own self-worth, your mental health, things like that, because you,
I
like
don't
you said, you won't
I
speak up.
nope. I will be the villain in anyone's story
Okay.
every trip.
Come on. Mm.
Okay, I do not believe in being the bigger person over and over. The bigger person one time, yeah, but over and over and over and over again, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in
Yeah.
that. I'm not the bigger person. My back hurts carrying this little person. So, no, I'll be your villain. With every villain starts off with an origin good story. They were originally a good person.
Mm.
Something changed them. Something somebody did over and over and over and over again changed them.
Mm-hmm.
And then people have a tendency of when you become the villain, they don't see why you became the villain only now that you're the villain.
Yeah.
I don't
They
mind.
don't see what happened, but only now. Now this is how you're showing up. But forget all the other times you were being nice. You never
Yep.
said anything. You never spoke up. Now you're speaking up. Now it's a problem.
Now it's a
Yeah.
problem. Oh
Yeah.
well. Oh
Yeah.
well. I will be that problem and I will proud that problem. I spent my entire childhood being quiet, not being the problem, trying to shrink myself away so that I didn't have to be. Not anymore. I'm going to be the villain. I'm going to smile villainly wise. I'm going to put that Joker grin on.
Yeah. 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 And I think, do you think that I don't know if are people, I don't know if I've ever met someone who didn't go through something to get to that point. Like have you ever met someone like I know we just said and I agree that villains oftentimes were really good people until something They just kept being a good person over and
But
over
God,
until
I
they switched.
I know one person, not had a good childhood, chose the life, literally chose the life that they lived. And they're a villain, huge villain, very predatory to women, big, but he chose to be that, he didn't have
Mhm.
to be there. He didn't have to leave his mom's house early.
Mhm.
99% of villains have an origin story where they were the good guy, but some people really are just
Evil, yeah.
villains.
Yeah.
They are diabolical, nasty, inconsiderate, unempathetic
Mhm.
people. I actually was unfortunate enough to meet one of those within the last 2 years, and it was a really, really hard time on my mental health. you know
Mhm.
I'm a good person, and coming across that people like him turn people like me into the villains.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then when you get a reaction, it's like, oh, I
I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
and it hurts a little more because you never expect it from the good guy.
Yeah.
The villain is always, people were like, really? Wow. You know what I'm saying? They don't see the tears and the hurt and the, prior to the, wow, you're capable of that? Well, yeah.
Mhm.
I lean back because when I lean up, it's not a good time for nobody. You know?
Yeah.
But people always underestimate the villain.
Mhm. Yeah. I wonder, but what I was saying is, I wonder if there's anyone who's ever been like balanced. Like, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's been balanced as far as like, I'm a good person, but I don't take no mess. Like,
Me,
I don't know if I've ever really,
me, I'm
okay. But
like
I mean, in the sense of they haven't like they're just like that. Like they've been like that since they were a kid. Like they've been integrated. They've integrated those two parts of themselves. I don't know if I've met someone like that that hasn't gone through anything. Like I think in my adult years, it's like okay, I meet people like that now, but they've gone through something. I don't
yeah,
know if what I'm saying, like what I'm trying to get at is I don't know if that's ever been something that's been promoted as far as parenting. Like now I do. I tell my daughter, listen, you don't always have to be the nice person. You don't always have to be the good girl. Like it's okay. Like I tell her, I said, maybe don't cuss right now. You're a child. I said, but understand something. You don't got to put up with people's shit. You fuck you. Like you don't
yeah.
have to deal with people's nonsense, and you can let them know right then and there. And I tell
One
her, oh,
thing is with my children is age does not guarantee respect.
okay.
Okay. You are, just because she's 14 and you're 35, you're not guaranteed a damn thing from her.
Okay.
You don't get to use your age or whatever as a factor of respect. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I teach my kids, be you unauthentically. You know what I'm saying? Do
Yeah.
not, because we all know every villain has a story. I don't
Yeah.
want my kids to turn into that villain because of their story.
Mm,
Like I'm doing, I had a fight of my life to not turn into the villain. You know what I'm saying? And
mm,
I think I might even be more villain like than I care to admit. But
okay.
I'm teaching my kids, don't accept it, because what
Right.
you accept now will turn you into the villain later. Don't
Mm,
do it.
mm-hmm.
Don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I think that's important, to even pass on to our children because, man, I was such a nice girl. I always wanted to be the good girl, but it also led to people pleasing. I was on the other end of the spectrum, always putting people first. Didn't know. Like, I had a talk with my dad recently about self-worth. Like, I'm like, Dad, we never had no type of discussion about worth. Like, what you're worthy of. Like I didn't know I was worth good treatment. I just thought, oh, you know, that song, Can You Stand the Rain? Like, yeah, I can stand the rain and I'm here to prove it. Like I just thought that's just what you did in relationships until it's always raining. Like when does the sun come out? Like,
Glo-
stuff like that.
Have you listened to Glorilla's Glorious album?
I haven't listened to it.
She has a song with Money Long.
Okay.
And in the song it says something like, not verbatim, but know your worth because these dudes be cheap as hell.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that resonated with me so much, because it's for a long
Yeah.
time, because of everything that I suffered through in childhood, I didn't realize what I was worth. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
put my self-worth at a very, very, very low standard. So I accepted so much
Yeah.
because of what I craved, and I didn't know what I was worth. It took
Mhm.
me to be in a situation where I was like, I know I deserve so much more than this. And it
Yeah.
made me write my book, you know what I'm saying, and start my healing journey, because I'm like, I know I deserve so much better than this. I am
Yeah.
worthy of so much more. And a lot
Mhm.
of people don't realize that, how the level of self-worth that you put yourself at determines the lifestyle that you live. It
Yeah.
determines where your future lies. You know what I'm saying? If you continuously, like, I spent years accepting just anything and anybody, you know what I'm saying? I had no
Mhm.
standard of who I was with. I had no, you know, I did not know my worth. It
Mhm.
had crying over people who I look at now like, ew, you know? Like
What was I doing? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's real. And speaking of standards, I just posted something the other day on Facebook about I can be deeply in love with you, but if you're not aligned with my desires and my values, I can walk away. And like I really been standing on that. Like if you're not aligned with my values and with what I
yeah,
desire, I gotta walk away, no matter how much I love you. Like I can say I love you, but I gotta go because I love me more. Like, and
yeah,
that's something that I've been, just kind of saying, like, girl, you can love people, and even telling my daughter, it's okay to love people. Love people, love people. People are worthy of love, but they're not worthy of your relationship. Sometimes people do things where they're not worthy of having access to you as a friend or whatever. You can remove your presence from people when they're no longer aligned with what you have going on, with how you know that you deserve to be treated. And ain't no mountain high enough. Like, you set your
I
standard,
absolutely agree.
and
Nobody is worth your peace.
right. Mm-hmm.
Nobody is worth your peace. You get to determine who you want around your circle. You can outgrow anybody. A
Yeah.
lot of the times we try to hold on to our friendships and stuff, and although we've outgrown them, and we want them in our at our table, we want them in the next season with us, and not realizing how heavy the dragging them has become.
Yeah.
You don't have to always hold it. Leave them, leave it, leave them.
Yeah. 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 And that's just what we have to do. So tell us more about your book. What other things what kind of healing, I guess, are you talking about? You say healing hurts like hell. Tell us more about that.
So during the height of my trauma, living in my trauma, after my childhood trauma ended, and I decided, you know what, adulthood would be fun. Let's go into adulthood. I didn't heal. I hid. I hid and I hid and I hid and I hid. I hid my emotions. I don't feel. I caused so much chaos around
Mhm.
myself, around the people. And then I got into the situation, and it was just like, my trauma was the form was why I was rejected, even though I was trying to, move forward and everything. And then when I realized that I needed to actually start doing the trauma work and doing the healing work, I realized, oh, I have these feelings and it hurts. You
Yeah.
know, healing is really, really painful when you do the work, because it brings up so many past things that you thought you forgot about, but you didn't just forget about
Mhm.
them. You hid them in a vault, and then I've cried more in the last 6 months than I have in 20 years.
Mm.
It was a painful experience, not because I just kept living in it, living in it. But it was finally, it felt like a relief, a pressure, but it was a painful
Mhm.
pressure that had to come up out of my chest and out of my spirit and out of my soul. Healing, it's painful. It's
Yeah.
worth it. but you have to put those emotions out there. You have to use those emotions that you have not used in a long time. I made myself vulnerable. And one thing I don't do is make myself vulnerable. I will not give nobody access to me. I'm very private. I'll feed people, little of information about myself just so they think they know stuff about me, but really, you know nothing about me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I make myself vulnerable, when I do open up and people hurt me or use what I've told them, I hide. I run and hide. This time I didn't. I endured the pain. I took the pain, took it to the chin, and was like, "You got this time." I allowed myself to get hurt. I allowed myself to feel the hurt. I allowed myself to feel the rejection. I allowed myself to, and it hurt. Like some days I felt like I just could not breathe. I felt like my body just was like, stay in bed, because depression is painful. People don't understand that. I have a major depressive diagnosis. It hurts physically, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it just was just like, it hurt. Oh, it hurt so bad. And when I finally was like, okay, that last tear, I won't shed another tear behind these people. I won't I will not let my abusers win consistently and constantly. I will get through this, because it got dark. It got real
Yeah.
dark for me. It got real, real, real painful and real heavy for me. But I decided, like, in the moment, like, they're not going to win anymore. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to use my story to move forward and heal and help other people heal. And eventually they have to meet their maker.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it hurt. It hurt. Healing hurts like hell. It's probably not the name I should have chosen for the book, but it was an experience that's what I was going through while writing the book. A painful pain. It hurt. It hurt, and I poured my soul into this book. I bared things that most people would never even admit to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hurts. It hurts, but it's so worth the pain. At the
Mm-hmm.
end, when you write that, when I wrote that last sentence, and I'm just like, yes, and I felt that moment of relief. The pain was worth it. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
tattoo. I have
Yeah.
47 tattoos. You know,
Oh,
every tattoo, when I'm like, oh my God, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Oh my God, it hurts. But when I look at the end result of my tattoo, I'm like, yes, I
right.
love it. Like, I'll sit for 6 hours through the pain, through the hurt, because I know the end result is amazing.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though it wasn't intentional, like, I didn't mean to go this route, and it was just like, okay, we're here. It felt good,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, that's a trip because I'm thinking, if I was someone listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, man, I need to heal, but it hurts. Like people keep saying, healing hurts. Like healing hurts like hell. The name of your book, Healing Hurts. But I think that there's some fear, but I think that like that's the first step that you take is just overcoming that fear that hey, this is gonna hurt, but it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna provide you some relief. It's gonna
It's
provide you
like a
some
lot of
relief.
times we hang on to relationships because we know what's going to happen when they end. We know the hurt
Yeah.
that we're going to feel. You know what I'm saying? So we
Mm-hmm.
hold on tighter and we tighter. It's like the picture where you got the rope wrapped around your hand.
Yeah.
You holding on to that rope tighter and tighter, and it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. But you still holding on. Because you
Yeah.
want you don't you're afraid. But that hand is it that open wound,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you realize, when you open that hand, oh wait, that hurts less.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
hurts less each day. And although the wound may be there, the visible scar may be there, it doesn't hurt anymore. All
Mm-hmm.
scars heal. They may scar, but they heal. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get that scar. You gotta open that wound. You have to open the wound in order for it to heal. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
have to get there.
Yeah, no, and that's something I've probably mentioned this on quite a few episodes now about healing. Healing is just getting better, right? And so when I'm talking about healing, I know that I've healed in certain areas in relationships and friendships and just with my own relationship with myself because I treat myself better. I show up to work better. I deal with people better than I used to. Because although I was a people pleaser, still, what? Depending on who you are, you might have knew a different side of me. Well, you might have knew the really nice me, or I might have been really mean to you, and I did not care. I do not care.
What's your sign? Are you a Libra?
I'm a Gemini, air sign for
Okay.
sure. Big Gemini.
I,
Yeah, you.
yeah,
Depending on who you
I'm a
are, you gonna get
Libra
one
sun
twin
with a
or the other.
Gemini moon.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So it's like you gonna get one twin or the other, and it depends. And you gonna get the twin that you deserve. And I did not care. But now I've learned, like, okay, let me hold up, like, hang on, like, okay, but has come from doing that work, doing that healing work, looking at, where is this coming from? Like, sometimes it would come from, and this was just recently in a reflection that I was doing. A lot of times I would treat people weird or like kind of be moving weird just out of fear of disappointment. Like, oh no, this person, and some of it was justified, right? Sometimes when you are a survivor of trauma, you really can pick up on people's patterns. And so I would pick up on people's patterns, like, oh no, you're not someone who does what they say they're gonna do, or you a little iffy. Every now and then we might roll the dice. Sometimes you might do what you say you're gonna do, and sometimes you might not. And so it's like, oh, I'm waiting on this person to disappoint me. Right. And so I would I'm moving funny. I'm moving funny. But then sometimes I would do that to people who haven't even done nothing to me yet. And so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, hold on. Like,
It's
take
a
notes on
trauma
the person.
response, though.
It is a
It's
trauma
a trauma
response.
response, and a lot of people don't understand it. Like, one of my biggest things that I'm working on with my trauma is reacting versus responding.
Okay.
I'm very reactive. You do something to me, I want my lick back, versus responding like, why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Let's have a conversation about what happened. Like, I'm just like the Gemini in me. You get one or the other. You know what I'm saying? I trauma responses are different for everybody, but they're all kind of like, you can group them together. You know what I'm saying? And people don't understand that it may not look like a trauma response, but it is, because everybody's trauma healing isn't linear. You know what I'm saying? Trauma isn't linear for everybody. Hurt isn't linear. You don't get to dictate how somebody's hurt is. You know what I'm saying? So when I speak of, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess we could do reaction. When I speak of trauma reactions, in my book, I tell, and there was a certain chapter where what I did to somebody was what made me realize, ooh, because I was out it was war, and
Okay.
it wasn't, yeah, it was war. And I had to remember, my trauma reaction response to what he did to blew it all out of proportion. Oh, it got really bad, like, but it was a trauma response. And I was not used to somebody treating me the way that he was treating me. Even he wasn't treating me bad, but I was expecting him to treat me bad. I just knew it was gonna happen, and I reacted. I knew it was gonna happen, but it wasn't happening. It might have happened. Who knows? I didn't give it time to happen.
Yeah. 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 They say that, what's that? Self-sabotage almost. Like you just waiting. Yeah. I had a girlfriend recently. She was like, Aurelia, I was telling her about someone that I kind of had a crush on. She was like, whatever you do not self-sabotage it, dog. Like, I'm like, you know me a little bit. You know me a little bit. She was like, I know you're a little. Don't self-sabotage it. Like, let things unfold. Let things unfold. And like you said, the trauma response, I understand that. And sometimes in the past, it used to make me feel so guilty and so down about everything that I went through. Like, damn, why do I even have a trauma response to begin with? But at that point, it was just like, show yourself some compassion. Like, hey, like, it's okay that you have these trauma responses. And this is me talking to myself, like, it's okay that you have these trauma responses. There was trauma that happened. There was trauma that happened. Your need was not met. in a certain experience. You were disrespected, you were put down, you were wrongly treated. That's trauma, huh? Like, or even trauma response as far as like jobs. People have faced trauma at their workplace. People have faced trauma in relationships. Like, and so it's just like I show myself so much compassion. Like, even if the other person, even the person, if I'm responding to somebody in some kind of way that might not be right, I just hope they can show me some grace and some compassion. But even if not, I can show myself some grace and some compassion and say, you know what? I know what I've been through. I know I've been through some stuff. And if the person is really real and they're really about like trying to get to know you or get to know me, I'm talking about myself. It's like, okay, then that begs for like vulnerability. Like if they're gonna be the person be like, hey, what was that about? Like, yo, like what was that about? What happened? Oh, I'm sorry, like, let me be vulnerable and let me peel back this layer and tell you, like, you know what, that was not okay. That was not okay for me to act like that. That was me responding to a trauma because this is how I was feeling. Um, you know, then that's where you
I
can
truly believe in giving everybody grace because you never know what anybody's going through.
Yeah.
But I believe I'm giving myself more grace than anybody else because I have been through the worst of the worst. I'm big on during this healing journey. I'm very hard on myself. I'm my biggest critic. I'm the person who will I talk about myself badly. Even my thoughts, are with myself are sometimes can be extremely negative. I'm learning now that it's okay to give yourself grace. It's okay to mess up. It's not gonna happen. Rome wasn't built in a day. This healing thing isn't gonna happen in one day. Yeah. It's not gonna happen in one writing session. It's not gonna happen overnight at all. Give yourself grace. Learn to be empathetic towards yourself. The same empathy and compassion you give to everybody else while you're dealing with this healing, you deserve it too. Because you deserved it when you weren't getting it. You deserved it when everybody was traumatizing you. You deserve it now more than ever. And no matter who doesn't give it to you, give it to yourself. And for those who know that you're traumatized and know that you're dealing with the healing journey, if they're not willing to give you grace and be compassionate, then those are the people that need to be out of your way. It's healing it's learning over. You're relearning your entire life. You're relearning how to behave. You're relearning coping skills. Like one of my biggest coping skills was sex and cigarettes. I'm now 140 days cigarette free. I'm
okay.
I think like 80 days, no intimacy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm relearning. So I'm giving myself more grace now than ever because I've always been about me, but I'm giving myself more grace now than ever. I'm not over apologizing when I make those mistakes in my healing because I don't know no better anymore. I thought I knew better, but I know now that I didn't know better. So now I'm relearning. I'm like a child all over again. I don't know no better. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving myself an ample amount of grace while going through this healing journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got to, because if not, you're going to be beating yourself up a lot, especially coming from, I remember just being kind of still like talking about that people pleaser, like, dang, like, what? It was just like, girl, it's okay. It's okay. Like, plenty of times, no journals and journals and journals of, no, it is okay. You do not have to be perfect. Actually, everybody does not actually have to like you. Like, you don't, like, I don't even like everybody. So why would you think that everybody has to like you? Like, if someone says something negative about you, that's them. And half the times it's projection. Actually, you're not even what they say that you are. And then sometimes even if someone is saying something that is true about you, your response to them could speak even more volume. Yeah. Or oh well. Or okay, so what? Like, I had to.
One of my favorite sayings is, your perception of me does not make me who you say I am.
Yeah. Yep.
Your perception of me is not a true reflection of who I am.
Right.
You can perceive me all you want. I'm so sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
There's not much I can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is what it is.
But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna allow anybody, because I know what I'm dealing with. You may not know what I'm working on. You may not see the growth. You may not see the change. You know what I'm saying? So, and another thing that I notice is when you're dealing with toxicity and drama and people who love that lifestyle and love that when you change and it no longer suits them and their needs and their wants, you're not this person. You're this, and they're like, dude,
Yeah.
you know, have no idea how much work I've put in to get to even have a conversation where I'm not telling you about yourself. That's work. That's growth. You know what I'm saying? Just because it doesn't please you anymore and I'm not shutting up, doesn't mean I'm not changing and growing. And I know that when you change and it doesn't no longer satisfy the people that fed your trauma and want you to be that negative person, oh, please. People hate when you change. People hate to see you do good. They see, especially when they're living in their own trauma.
Yeah. Talk about it. Talk about that. Ooh, it's really something. I'd be like, hang on, you were cool when I didn't have nothing. Now that I got a little piece of something, oh, it's a problem. Oh, you're acting bougie. Oh, you're acting different. Yeah. Yeah, maybe so.
Supposed
Because
to.
I'm growing. I'm healing. What? You thought that what I had before was cool for me? Oh,
It was
you
cool
thought
for you, but it wasn't
right.
cool for me.
It was not cool for me. I did not like it actually, yeah, yeah. And it's so funny because I want to say this time last year, or even not even this time last year, even just a few months ago, I was talking to another lady who she's a body reader. And I was like, I did not look good. I did not look good. And nobody really told me anything. I said, but I look good today. And the woman at
Okay.
work, Miss Weird, why do you look so cute today? Cause I feel good. Cause I'm taking better care of myself. Cause I'm doing this, and that. What? I had one girl. She stopped me and was like slick negative, but it was like, you know how some women it was like a backhanded comment. She said to me, and one of my coworkers pulled me aside and said something about it. I said, man, please. I said, look, she don't know what I've been through. I said, what y'all have seen here in these last few months is you see me go from, you seen a transformation happen right in front of you. And I said, she don't know me. She does not know me. She does not know the hell I had to pull myself out of the mud. I had to take myself out of. When people say you really have to rescue yourself, please, this was personal. Yes, I'm so grateful for the support of some of my family for giving me a place to stay for a long time while I was healing. But shit, I had to heal from that too. I had to heal from staying with family. So let's not even, you know what I mean?
Because let's not act like homelessness is not a trauma.
It is. Even if you do have a roof over your head, if it's not your own space, it's really difficult. It's really difficult.
I just moved on the 12th of this month. I just moved into a space of my own after almost 2 years.
Wow, congratulations. I know. Ooh, I know the feeling. Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And I did it all while, so I was like in a homeless shelter starting in November. I left the homeless shelter after 3 months and I just couldn't take it no more. My spirit was just like, oh my God, we're actually in the process of, because of the treatment in the homeless shelter, we're banding together to write a letter to our governor about the treatment and the sanitary conditions in the shelter. But it had gotten really bad. And I had gotten to the point where I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. People don't understand. Like, just because you live with somebody don't make you less homeless, because they can put you out at any given moment.
At any moment, yeah. Yeah. And
I
treat
was
you any
grateful.
kind of way because you need them.
I was grateful that I had one solid. She's my son's aunt. She's just, even though my son wasn't living with me, he was living with his father. She still allowed me and my daughter to reside in her house from August of 2023 to November of 2024. And although I wasn't homeless, I was houseless. It wasn't mine. I'm homeless. I'm in somebody else's house.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, like, when you going through it,
Yeah.
You need all the support you can get, even if it's just one person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Healing is lonely. You lose a lot of friends. You lose a lot of the people that you thought cared about you. It's really lonely. And that's another reason why I say it's painful and that healing hurts like hell, because you lose so much of everything that you knew. You completely have to, you lose yourself in the trauma. So who you are, who you're taught to be as a child based on conditions of people's love or whatever, you conform to what other people want you to be. Now you got to conform again. You got to re-lose this. You got to relearn and reconform, and it's painful. But the relief at the opposite end of it is like, it hurts like hell. But baby, that feeling at the end when you put in that work, when you put in that time and that effort to do it, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would chalk it up to the way that I could think of it, if someone's listening and you understand tarot, just like a tower moment. Like this whole experience, a lot of the trauma was like this illusion, this tower that I built up. And that trauma coming to almost like it's like a consciousness, like you just get like there's like one sober moment where you're like, I'm tired of this mess. Like I'm tired of this. And then boom, the tower comes crashing down. You start losing friends. Things start unraveling. You lose your home. You lose the shelter over your head, even if it's not your home. And then it's like the healing part. It hurts, but you're building back up. You're building back up something that is authentic, something that is stable, something that's secure. Those things, right? And I feel like that's the healing. That's the better, and it's better on your own standards. It doesn't have to be.
You're
My better
rebuilding
doesn't.
you,
Yeah,
rebuilding you.
how you want to, how you want to be.
And it may not please everybody, and you will lose a lot of friends along the way, because both my best friends, I lost one of 20 years and one of 5 years. I don't speak to neither one of them now.
Wow.
I really, okay, we no longer serve each other's a purpose in each other's lives, and I'm okay with that now. Before, I've spent years holding on to friendships and relationships that didn't, work for me and that weren't healthy for me. Now I'm just like, bye, get it how you live, love, and I'll see you on the other side. I may not want you at my table, but I still want to see you eat, but you no longer serve a purpose. It's not a bad thing that you no longer serve a purpose. Don't hate me because you no longer serve a purpose. You just no longer serve a purpose.
Yeah.
You're dead weight and you got too heavy. I could no longer continue to carry the friendship. I don't care if the friendship was beneficial for both of us. It felt more heavy for me than it was beneficial. So bye. And I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
I wish you the absolute best, but you can't be here.
Yeah. 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 And it does hurt. It's like a breakup. It hurts, but man, it clears room. Like it makes room. That's the whole, when things fall apart, it hurts in that process, but then it's like, wow, you at the bottom, you might as well rebuild how you want to. You might as well move forward
the best they say that when you hit rock bottom, that's when you start, you know what I'm saying? You have to hit rock bottom. But that's the best way to build a solid foundation, is starting from the bottom.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
You have to hit rock bottom. That's like with addicts. They don't start their treatment and detox until they actually hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
When you hit rock bottom, go ahead and chisel them little humps and chisel them little mountains of pile. Just pick up a shovel, brick, dirt, clear it out. Yeah. Make it a smooth, solid foundation so that when you start carrying them bricks over and laying them bricks, the proudness that comes when you finish building up and building yourself up is phenomenal. Hit rock bottom. It's okay to hit rock bottom. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
The only way, it's okay to be okay. Go through. My saying is, it's okay to be okay, but grow through what you go through. Change. You have to change. You have to you can't stay the same, and rock bottom will help you build up. You know, let the bricks fall, let the tower moment, let it crumble.
Yeah.
And then hit rock bottom. The only way to go from there is up.
Yeah. 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 It's so funny. I was telling a coworker today, she was like, man, she's getting to the point where she's just tired of a certain situation. I said, girl, I'm out of advice. I said, what's going to happen is what's done in the dark is going to come to the light and it ain't going to be pretty. So you got to either make a decision where you're still in control or it's going to get out of control and the decision is going to be made for you. And sometimes it gets like that. Sometimes it really has to get like that. And we can only get so many signs.
You know, I have this thing like, if God gives you something and he tells you to do something and you don't do it, he's going to make it ugly for you. He's going to make you, if you don't quit that job, God say, you ask God for something and you say, you know what, I need something better. He's going to make you quit your job. You're going to have no trust in that. You're going to be like, what? You know what I'm saying? Okay, God, I can't quit my job. I need my job. I need my job. I need my job. God, don't make me, I need my job. If you don't do this, if you don't quit that job, God gonna make you lose that job.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with relationships. God, if you don't leave that man alone, he gonna turn that man into your baby father. You know what I'm saying? You know, and we all know babies change relationships. You know what I'm saying? They either change for the better or they change for the worse. And a lot of times when you're not married, they change for the worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with healing. It helped to let it go before God makes it hurt.
Yeah.
It has to hurt in order for it to feel better.
And sometimes that's the help. Like you be praying, help, God, help me with this. And next thing you know, the walls then came crumbling down. Maybe that wasn't help. Sometimes, sometimes the trials are actually really, people talk about the blessing in disguise. Man, sometimes I would really be pissed off talking about God. I'd be pissed off. What? I'm having somebody else pray. Hey man, you pray because I'm done talking to God. Yeah, you pray. I'm so grateful for my friends that
with God
did.
Often. Me and God beef a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'll be like, why? Just why am I going through this again? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was you thinking? You know what I'm saying? Are you trying to be funny? Like, it's not funny. And we all know God has a great sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? He is a comedian because I'll be like, this ain't even funny. You know what I'm saying? Me and God battle constantly. But one thing I learned, like with my healing journey, is be grateful through the grind. Be grateful for what you have, even when you don't have what you want. You know what I'm saying? Be grateful. Like, I don't have a couch. Like, my friend, like, I just got my house. You know what I'm saying? It's not furnished or nothing, but I have my own home. You know what I'm saying? I was sleeping on the floor with blankets. I got my own home. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful to have my own. Be grateful while you're dealing with all of this. Be grateful that you still have your sanity while you're healing. You know what I'm saying? Be grateful that you have people still while you're losing those people that you thought would be there. Be grateful. Be grateful, because the more grateful you are, the more blessings come to you.
Yeah.
And I war with God constantly because, like I said, I've suffered a really hard life. You know what I'm saying? And I constantly ask him, like, why the constant trials? Why the constant tribulations? You know what I'm saying? But then I started realizing, you know what? Thank you for these trials and tribulations, because it wouldn't bring me to where I am right now. I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have. I wouldn't be able to talk to young girls, you know what I'm saying, about healing. I wouldn't be able to be on this healing journey to learn so much and to get my story out there. You know, like I just did the Office of Mental Health has an initiative going on. It's called Storytellers in Residence. Excuse me. And we just, like, my story, you know what I'm saying, of everything that I have suffered through is the reason I got the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, my pain, my suffering gives me all the opportunities that I have been blessed with in these last few weeks. You know what I'm saying? I just had to get out of the actual living in those trauma stages, living in those trauma moments to see why the trauma was happening to me. And I had to learn to, you know what? Although it hurt, Be grateful for it. Thank you, God, because I needed that lesson. I'm not sure why I needed the lesson, but I know now that I needed that lesson. And I may not never know why. He know why. And eventually, even though I may not see the lesson, I may not have known it'll play out.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow. Well, this has been such a good, meaningful conversation. We just have been discussing and talking. And so that's how I love it. I think some of the best episodes that I've had so far has just been like a discussion, just straight conversation. And so I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you would like to say? I know. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, bring up, mention as we bring this to a close?
Not really. I just hope that whoever does listen, the journey is worth it. The steps you take through the journey, when you don't focus on the destination, focus on the journey. If you focus too hard on the destination, it's just going to seem like it's going to take forever to get there.
Yeah.
Healing hurts, but it won't last for long. Just get through the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get through the hard part. And the hard part is also a part of the flow. That was something that I had to tell myself constantly. The hard parts is part of the flow.
Because eventually the hard part has to end.
Yeah.
You know? You don't learn things through osmosis. Everything you learn, if it's hard, if it's easy, is it really worth it? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was a 2-day therapy session and you were healed, would you really be okay with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to put in the work. I want to take the time. I want to be dedicated. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I might not win that battle, but I know that baby steps, I'll win the war.
That's it for today's check-in. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, hit that subscribe or follow button, and let's keep growing together. Hey, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, drop your after emoji in the comments and tell me what shifted for you. I'll see you next time on Miss Win Checking In, where creativity is a pathway to wellness.